cryotherapy was amazing. So I've managed to reverse my chronic inflammation. So I'm now in the top percentile of low inflammation. And I also reversed my age by 10 years as well. So that was another bonus of all the
Yes.
biohacking. So is that my cells are now 38.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jodi Richardson, and this is Well, Hello Anxiety. In a world that often moves too fast, we're here to pause, breathe, and understand anxiety together. Each episode will explore practical strategies, share honest conversations, and uncover the science behind anxiety and well-being, all while creating a space where it's okay to not be okay. Let's continue this journey together. Have you ever heard of biohacking? This might be something altogether new, or maybe you've heard the term tossed around and wondered what it actually means. Or maybe, like me, you watched the Brian Johnson documentary and think biohacking is only for those who have lots of money and lots of time. We're here to talk today about biohacking and to bust some myths and to answer so many questions. I'm especially interested to chat to my guest today about how she biohacks her anxiety, because anxiety is something that she knows well, like many of us do, and that's something I'm particularly interested to learn about. Biohacking is much more accessible for all of us than we might think. Other things that I want to talk to Camilla Thompson today are about longevity and just living with more energy, which is something that a lot of my circle of friends and the people I kind of move through life with are talking about. Energy and vitality, more of that, yes please. And so, yes, of course, busting some myths as well. So it's just a pleasure. I've been so looking forward to talking with Camilla Thompson. She is a trailblazer in biohacking. She's a nutritionist, she's a wellbeing coach, and she is a leader in this space, making biohacking more accessible to all of us. You may have seen Camilla on Sunrise if you live here in Australia, or watch it from overseas, which many do, or you may have read her work in Women's Health magazine or The Age. She is the author of a brand new book called Biohack Me, and she is joining us from the central coast of New South Wales. So welcome, Camilla.
Thank you, Jodi. It's so good to be here with you.
Oh,
Well,
goodness.
kind of with you,
Yes,
virtually with you.
virtually.
Yeah.
It's so lovely to be with you and to learn about biohacking, because I admit, and it's very easy for us to do in this world of constant information to get a really kind of narrow view of something if we learn a little bit about it online, or we see a post, or we watch a documentary. And as always, there's more to it. So let's just start at the top. What is biohacking? What is it?
Well, it's so interesting because you referenced Brian Johnson and his Netflix documentary, Don't Die. And I think that's making it definitely more mainstream that people are actually sort of talking about biohacking. But traditionally, it's been mainly sort of elite athletes and a lot of celebrities and a lot of sort of the tech Silicon Valley bros who've been biohacking because they've had access to the technology, they've got the money, and a lot of them have the time. But ultimately, it's about recovery and it's about, hacking into our biology and our environment so that we can perform better, live longer, have more energy, you talked about in the beginning. So I think athletes have been doing it for a long time. So, when you're performing at that sort of that peak, you need recovery, and rest is absolutely a non-negotiable. And that's how they manage to keep performing as they do. But most of us, and particularly in corporate world, we're all running around performing like elite athletes all day, running on adrenaline and cortisol, but we're not really recovering and we're not really resting as much as we need to so that we can, so we don't run our battery into the ground, which is why I think a lot of people are feeling so exhausted and burnt out. So biohacking is really about taking control of your health and well-being. So it's looking at what your unique body needs. So it's not a one size fits all.
Yeah.
And it's really tapping into, what your unique genetics are, what your body responds to, and experimenting as well. There's lots of curiosity and experimentation with biohacking.
I love that word curiosity, and that was what was coming to mind while you were talking. It's about trying something on for size, whether that be, I won't preempt, but, something like an ice bath or, a sauna or nutrition supplements or some of the things that are coming to mind. But that curiosity, it's a really nice way to approach something new, isn't it? Because like you say, it's not a one size fits all. This is something that has the potential to help. I'm going to try it, see how it fits for me.
Yeah, and I think, Jodi, look, we've got so much chronic ill health around us. Like, sobering statistics, 1 in 2 will be diagnosed with cancer before the age of 85. 1 in 2 women will have a chronic health condition. You know, women, we're more predisposed as well to chronic ill health. So we have to start getting into that prevention space. So I think I've been banging on about preventative and personalized health for so many years in my work in corporate wellbeing. And now I'm finally having a bit of a platform to be able to talk and particularly represent women as well, because we're so underrepresented when it comes to research. And, you know, and obviously then things get applied to us and they're not actually relevant for us as women. So this is why biohacking is so wonderful, because it's about trying different things. It's about curiosity. It's about experimentation. But ultimately, it's about optimizing. We want to optimize our health. So, you know, we look at our longevity, we look at our lifespan and how many years we're going to live, but we want our health span, which is the amount of years that we're going to live in good health, to equal that lifespan.
Yes.
You know, there's no point being 80, 90 and our brain's gone and we can't walk and we can't move. Like, there's no quality of life. So what we do now is so important. It determines how we're going to show up later in life.
It is. It's like choose your hard, isn't it? And I've spent, Dad was in hospital for 3 weeks with his diabetes, and then he was in rehab. And so I've been a witness to, you know, especially spending sort of 9 days visiting Dad in the rehabilitation clinic or hospital, and seeing people having come in for knee reconstructions or for heart operations, and, you know, whatever it is that they've come in for, and now they're rehabilitating their bodies. And also, you know, I think it becoming very top of mind that as we do age, there are inevitably health challenges that we may face if we've not looked after ourselves, that there are a lot of things that we can do right here, today, tomorrow, this week, that might be a change to our routine and require more of us. But when you look at what the alternative is, if you do nothing now, and what that change to your routine and what's required of you when you're older and you're struggling with your body or your mind, I think it's about choosing, and we've got the opportunity to learn from you today. So, but before we get more into the nuts and bolts, I'm interested to know what led you to biohacking.
I guess it started from a young age. I talk about my mum in the book, the OG biohacker. So she was really progressive, really forward thinking. You know, our house was full of sort of natural remedies. All our food came from local farms. It wasn't sprayed. You know, we didn't have much sugar in the house, no processed foods. You know, just water was filtered, all that kind of stuff. So I kind of grew up with that, but obviously rebelled against that in my teens massively. And it was like junk food and alcohol and, you know, all the rest of it. But I came back to that. And I think sort of there's been a few pivotal points in my life. And it's funny, when I was thinking about coming on this podcast, and obviously the title being Hello Anxiety, and I thought about, God, anxiety has underpinned so many parts of my life, so many situations in my life. There's always been anxiety underlying there, and it was quite reflective for me thinking about it. I think I sent you an email because I was like, wow, I didn't realize how much anxiety's played a part in my life, particularly from a young age. I think I went into you know, a lot of safety behaviors and struggled with anxiety. My parents split up, my dad wasn't around. You know, my mum was struggling because, you know, it'd been quite a bad breakup. So I think my anxiety started from a very young age. And then I think I sort of started suffering with depression, but I didn't realize. It's only been in sort of the last 10 years, an old school friend of mine found some letters in her garage at home when they were cleaning out her parents' house, that I'd written her when I was about 12 or 13. And I was talking about having depression, and it was a real eye-opener, because I thought, God, I only really got depression later in life with postnatal depression. But actually it happened, you know, when I was in my teens, and it was so long ago. It's not something we talked about. It's not like now with young people where there's so much support. So it's been interesting. I think my mental health journey has been with me. I mean, it's with all of us, isn't it? But it's been with me through thick and thin. But yeah, I think my first thing, I got quite severe postnatal depression with my oldest son, Ollie, who's now 22, and, you know, horrific labor, and struggled with bonding, and he was really distressed. I was really distressed. And she ended up getting into traditional Chinese medicine as a way of trying to heal. So I took SSRIs. Unfortunately, they weren't the right ones for me. They just had a really adverse effect. I put on a lot of weight, couldn't get out of bed, felt even more depressed. hindsight, should have gone back to the doctor and said, hey, these aren't working. Hook me up with something else. But I didn't. I thought I knew best. So I came off them, and that was a really, really traumatic time because I've just had a complete breakdown. And that's when I found TCM. So I started acupuncture and Chinese herbs. And I was like, wow, okay, there is other stuff out here. Pharmaceuticals have their place. That's not
Yes,
what I'm saying here. But
of
I really
course.
got into that all sort of alternative path.
TCM
Um,
being traditional Chinese medicine.
Yes. So
Yes,
yeah. So
yes.
getting jabbed with lots of needles and funky herbs and
Funky they are.
yeah, they really are. But look, it was absolutely life-saving for me and really transformed my health. And I found my joy and my passion and my purpose, and I got myself back on track. But yeah, I mean, what really got me into biohacking is I lived in mold for probably about 8 years unknowingly and just was so unwell. Like I kept getting immune system issues, ridiculous anxiety through the roof. Um, and I was constantly dehydrated. It was like I had a permanent hangover. And but I was healthy. I was eating well. I was exercising. I was trying to do everything, but my body was just breaking down all the time. So I eventually found out I was living in mold. And that's when I spent sort of 18 months trying to reverse the damage that had been done and the chronic inflammation. And really, biohacking became an absolute lifeline for me to get well.
How did you discover that mold was the underlying cause of all of these challenges you were experiencing?
Yeah, look, a good friend of mine works in mold remediation in Sydney, and she came over to my house. And at that point, I was pretty much in bed a lot of the time. It was mimicking arthritis in my body. So I was creaking around, every bone hurt. I was in so much pain. And I felt like an old woman, actually. And she came over and she said, Camilla, you've got, she was in my bedroom and she was looking around and she said, Camilla, you've got mold everywhere. And we'd had water come into one of our cupboards in the bedroom and it hadn't been fixed properly. We had sort of dodgy handyman come in and band-aid it up. Our
Gosh.
whole house was band-aided. It was a beautiful old house that we were renting, but it was just riddled with mold. And so she found it in our bed, our blinds, our bedside cabinets. It was in every room in our house. So we within 24 hours we had 24 hours we had to move out. And yeah, we never went back, and we lost all our belongings, and everything was contaminated.
Oh, gosh.
So,
Oh,
but finally
goodness.
we knew what was wrong with me. So,
Yes.
yeah, and my younger son had been sick as well, but my oldest and my husband weren't sick. So it's really hard. Not all four of
Mm.
us were ill. So 25% of the population have a specific gene called the HLA, DR, or DQ. It's part of the celiac family. And that means that you're more predisposed to mold illness. Your body doesn't recognize it as a foreign object when we inhale those mycotoxin
Spores.
spores.
Yes.
It just wreaks havoc and it disrupts all your system. So it affects your brain. I had it growing up into my nose, which is, why my mental, cognitive, I was brain fog, anxiety. Yeah, it's nasty stuff.
Yes, it is, and it's probably not something that people often think about in their homes. Something to look for. It might just be, oh, that's just something I'll get to later, or if they notice a few black spots kind of on the curtains or something, and so just goes to show how significant an effect it can have.
We live in a breeding ground in Australia because we get all this rain and then we get the humidity, and so it is pretty much everywhere. It's hard to get away from it, but you just have to do what you can to mitigate, and dehumidifiers and air purifiers and things like that to kind of prevent it from getting
Yeah.
too bad.
Look, I'm so sorry to hear of what you've been through. You're on this mission now to be able to share so much about biohacking and what can really make a difference for us. So let's dive into it. Let's get into biohacking. Tell us all about it. What can we learn from you today that can make a difference for us, please?
Yeah, look, Jodie, I think you mentioned at the beginning is making biohacking accessible. So I think a lot of people are seeing the media and thinking, oh, this is, he's spending millions of dollars a year and, they're spending all day biohacking and doing all these incredible things. I mean, pushing the realms of what we thought was possible with extending life. So it is really fascinating. But for us, just normal people that just
Mere
day to
mortals.
day, yes, that only have, small pockets of time. Biohacking is great because it's hacks, right? So it's
Yeah.
sort of evidence-based droplets of goodness that you can kind of put into your life that's going to help you to feel better and perform better. So for me, when I spent 18 months trying to get the mold out of my body and detoxing, infrared saunas were like my go-to. So I think saunas are something most of us have can get accessibility to, whether or not they're at a gym or a local place, or I have one in my garage. Like it's the best thing I've ever bought. I had that every time I got in a sauna, I felt better, and that's because it gets rid of mold. So it helps with detox because you're sweating everything out. So there's been amazing research into saunas, a big Finnish study that shows that it actually extends our life. So I think infrared saunas are one of my favorite biohacks,
Yes.
definitely.
Yes.
But some simple things like just natural light in the morning. I mean, it's hard at the moment because we're waking up and it's pitch black dark. I have something called a happy lamp, which I have near my bed. So when I wake up and it's dark, I just put the little happy lamp on and that mimics natural light. So it still gives me that light. So they're really great for anyone that's struggling with sort of seasonal affective disorder at this time of year, where it's kind of a lot of people getting up in the dark. So yeah, that really helps. And, things like cold showers, so good for our resilience.
Yes.
It is getting cold. I have to say this morning I was having a warm shower and I was like, am I going to do cold or not? And I was like, yes, you've got to walk the talk, Camilla. Come on. So I did the cold at the end, just 30 seconds. That's enough,
Yeah.
and it's so good for your skin and your hair. And one of the old tricks that the models used to do was washing their hair in cold water because it made it shine more. So there we go.
Ah, there we
There's,
go. Before we go
there's a
on,
tip.
you've already given us three, like, we're off to a flying start. I want to go back to with the sauna. How
Yes.
often are you in the sauna and how long for?
Yeah. So I do 30 minutes at about 65 degrees, and I do that every other day.
Yep.
So I'm just, yeah, that's 3 to 4 times a week is ideal if you can, just for maximum benefits. I think the Finnish study showed if you do it twice a week, you get X amount of benefit, 3 to 4 times. So and there was a whole reduction in all case mortality and stuff. So it's really, they really are amazing. But infrared, the Finnish style with coals, they're both equally good. They kind of do different things, but you're still getting that same impact. You're still sweating, detoxing, reducing inflammation, fighting any kind of viruses and things that are in the body. So lots of benefits for saunas. It's literally my happy place. As soon as I get in
Yes.
one, I'm like, yay, I'm warm and it's just love them. So
Yes.
that's definitely been something that's really helped me over the years. And then obviously, if you can do the cold after the warm is good as well to do that contrast therapy.
Yes.
There's a lot of controversy about ice baths at the moment and women, and I think there's a lady, I think it's Dr. Stacey
Sims. Yes. She's been
Sims,
a
yeah, and
guest.
so yeah, so she's really kind of going, hang on, we've got to really look at what women respond to and what's happening, and so there's lots of different schools of thought around. No, it's fine for women, but I think you've got to be. Some women are fine, some aren't. So I think you've got to just be intuitive. Like if you run high on cortisol and you're getting in an ice bath and you feel like it's causing too much, adrenaline and cortisol, then it might not be for you. Whereas if you can get in there and relax and breathe and you feel like you're in a Zen place, which some people do, then your nervous system's responding differently. So I think we just need to be mindful of, how much our body can tolerate as women. There's a lot of ego in ice baths. It's like, how long can we do one for? It's like, after 2 minutes, there's no other benefit, as far as I'm aware. So 2 minutes, there's no people are in there for 10 minutes. It's just pointless.
I'll
Anyway,
tell you a quick funny story. I was with my friend Selena, and we were having going down to the recovery lab
yes.
near us, and we were in compression boots. We're doing sauna and ice bath, and we saw that there was a wall. There was and there was actually on the wall. There was like, if you can stay in for 8 minutes, you get your photo and you go on this wall. And her daughter was on the wall, her teenage daughter. She's like,
Yeah.
right, we've got to get on the wall. Anyway, we stayed in for like 9 minutes, and we were like, "Oh, what is everyone talking about?" But we later found out the temperature of the ice bath we were in was much higher than what it
Right.
had been. I don't know if someone had changed or what had happened, but for whatever reason, we thought we were like, these superhuman, like these super women, like, oh, we can hack this, like, what's all the fuss about? And then we realised, and then when the next time we came back and it was like 4 degrees, we were like, oh
Yeah,
my goodness,
takes the breath away.
does
Yeah.
indeed, it does indeed,
Yeah,
yes,
it
yeah,
does. But
yeah.
look, cold showers are fantastic. The ocean, like we have like literally Australia is like the biohacking capital of the world, really. We've got everything on our doorstep. Nature is one of our best biohacks. Like most biohacking technology is trying to replace nature. It's trying to replace natural light, or it's trying to replace grounding or things like that. So I think, we really do have to tap into nature, because that's just such a great biohack for our mood and our health and everything. So that's a good one. Cryotherapy is good to try as well if you don't want to do the ice bath. So I did that a few times. It really helps reduce inflammation.
Can you talk us through the experience of cryotherapy for those who are not familiar with how that kind of, like, it's obviously we know it's cold. How does it differ from being in really cold water?
So it's kind of like dry ice. So it's about minus 130, some of it, if you're gonna, it's cold.
And you stand, don't you?
You stand up, you're in like a unit, and it comes in, and normally you have music so you can dance, because that kind of keeps you, keeps you from freezing into a frozen statue. And then you have like gloves on, and you have something around your ears, and you have some socks and shoes on as well, so you don't freeze your feet onto the platform. But it's short. It's only like sort of 2 to 3 minutes that you can do cryotherapy. You can do it for longer. I've done it for longer, but yeah, so that's great. And you don't get wet. So you're not wet cold, you're kind of dry cold. But that really helps to reduce inflammation. And I got diagnosed with something called CIRS, which is chronic inflammation response syndrome, which is from mold poisoning. So it's a mold illness. And that means that your body's always in a state of chronic inflammation, because the mold has caused so much damage and oxidative stress. So cryotherapy was amazing for that. That really helped. So I've managed to reverse my chronic inflammation. So I'm now in the top percentile of low inflammation. And I also reversed my age by 10 years as well. So that was another bonus of all the biohacking. So is that my cells are now 38, but I'm actually 48.
Woohoo!
Which is good.
How did you access cryotherapy? Because I've seen it used by elite athletes here in Australia, by AFL athletes in particular. How would a person go about finding a place where they could experience cryotherapy and it's available to the public?
Yeah, look, there's lots of places around. So there's different chains. There's Cryo Plus. There's various different places. So Bondi Junction, Rehab Wellness. Those guys have got excellent cryo. That place is amazing, actually. Rehab Wellness in Bondi Junction.
Wow.
There's a similar one up in Byron called Social Remedy. So these are kind of like gyms, but recovery centers. They've got red light therapy, they've got saunas, they've got magnesium pools, they've got cryotherapy, the compression boots that you mentioned earlier, which are fantastic for people that are sitting a lot as well. Those compression boots are really good if you're flying, or just really good to help the circulation in the body. But yeah, cryo is more accessible than you think it is, actually.
Yeah, great. That's so good to know. It's so good to know. With biohacking, are there any approaches that we wouldn't be familiar with? Because cryotherapy is not something that would have come to mind for me, but something kind of a little bit left of centre that makes a significant difference to health that listeners may not have been exposed to before or heard about previously.
Well, there's a few. So I think something that's going to become bigger and bigger is hyperbaric chambers. They call them HBOTs, but the hyperbaric chambers are incredible for healing. So again, athletes have been using them for years. So if they've got an injury, they'll go into the hyperbaric chamber. You get oxygen, the pressure. It's literally like you're taking off on an aeroplane and landing. It's quite uncomfortable for the first few minutes, and then it eases. You kind of what's the word when you pressure, you sort of
equalize.
do the pressure, equalize,
Yes.
and then it's great.
Yeah.
But so I think they're going to become more and more popular and accessible. They used to be these huge, massive tanks, and now they're making them into much more accessible units that you can use in different places. You can have them at home. You can actually buy one at home. So
Yes.
that I think we'll see more. Red light therapy is just going from strength to strength. So I think particularly women, we've all been in to have our face done and had the light therapy, and that's becoming more and more popular now when we look at actually how it helps to repair our cells. So we've got something called the mitochondria, which is like the powerhouse of our cells. It's like our internal battery. I talk about it in my book. It's also the inspiration behind the Force in Star Wars, which I love. So it's like we've all got the Force within us, which is fantastic. But we're now going, okay, what can we do to sort of reverse some of those hallmarks of aging? So things like mitochondria damage, which is sort of a bit like wearing our mobile phone down, and like Apple, after about 5 years, they purposely the phones start degrading, right? Well, our
Yes.
bodies are very similar. So we need to charge them back up. So red light therapy is fantastic for that, as well as intermittent fasting, which I'll talk about in a minute, because that really is an amazing biohack. Um, but yeah, so red light helps to charge that sort of on a really deep level. And they've been doing some amazing research in Australia. They did some research into Parkinson's and how it's reducing some of those symptoms from Parkinson's.
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And also how it helps repair our gut health. It helps balance our hormones. They're even looking at how it can improve our eyesight. I've been trying. It hasn't worked yet for me. Like you, I wear glasses.
Yes.
But I'm like, I've got to biohack my eyesight. That's my next project. But yeah, so I think red lights are some things to look out for. Hydrogen water is another one that's becoming very popular. So that's just regular water, and you're popping your hydrogen tablets in, and that's creating that hydrogen water, which does all sorts for our energy and our gut health and repairing the cells as well.
This is so interesting. What are we looking for when we are interested in using red light therapy? Because I've seen products coming through the market, and whether they're a facial mask or they're lights that you can buy to have in your home, what should we look out for? Because I imagine that whenever there are these hacks that are evidence-based that can make a difference, that there's equipment that may or may not meet the standard that we need to get the benefit
100%.
from it. Yeah.
They have to be medical grade, and you want them to be TGA approved.
Okay.
So there are lots of cheap things coming out of China. I mean, majority of stuff comes out of China, but the cheaper products, and you're not going to get the benefits from them. So you've got to make sure that you're buying reputable. Like, I work with a company called Bon Charge, and their equipment is amazing, and really they're ethical and all the rest of it. So I'm sure it all gets made in China, but it gets made at a high quality, and their stuff is medical grade. So that's really important. Because the red light has just got so popular now, particularly the masks and things like that.
And we can't go putting red cellophane or cellophane over a light. There's a lot more to it. It's wavelengths. It's related to wavelengths.
It is. And you've got your near infrared and your far infrared, and the far infrared is what's going really deep into you. So that's that deep healing. So I think we're going to see more and more research into red light. Back to hydrogen water, something you can add to that is methylene blue, which is another thing that's quite popular at the moment. And that is like a little sort of tincture as well, that it used to be used to treat malaria, actually, back many, many, many years ago in the war. So they used methylene blue as a dye to help treat, because it's sort of antiviral and antibacterial. Right. But there's lots of health benefits from methylene blue. So at my book launch, I will be serving people hydrogen water with methylene blue in test tubes.
Very on brand.
Bit of an experiment.
There is so much to talk about. I am so interested in many more questions about like filtered water and hormones and fats and things like that. I really want to extend this conversation. So we are going to be back for our part 2 with Camilla Thompson next week. See you then. Thank you for sharing this time with me on Well, Hello Anxiety. Remember, understanding anxiety is the first step to managing it. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. Take things one moment at a time. Focus on what you can control and know that you are not alone on this journey. If you found value in today's episode, please share it with someone who might need to hear it too. I'm Dr. Jodi Richardson, and I'll meet you right back here next week.